Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and I've got some updates for you. PlayStation actually responded, apparently, after a whole month of radio goddamn silence. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the old dogs at PlayStation decided to come up and tell you they don't really care. So again, I don't want to make this video to be like overly negative or something, but here's the thing, okay? I'm a realist when it comes to these situations. So about a month ago, Sony was like, yeah, we're not going to make discs anymore in 2028. I was pretty mad, okay? I was angry. Many people are angry at this. But the reason it hurts me a lot is because, guys, I've grown up with PlayStation, okay? I've had PlayStation 1 discs, PS2 discs, 3, 4, and 5. You know, it's kind of been like a thing for me, right? You know, if it's one thing that I will just straight up say over here, listen, I've had my controversies with the whole Switch 2 stuff. Like, to be honest with you, I agree once more. When I said I shouldn't have bought it, I shouldn't have actually bought it. Simple as I should have spoke with my wallet. I don't want to be the kind of guy that says one thing and does the other. So for this, I really want to, like, again, relitigate that, bring it into this situation and just say, hey, look, I'm actually really sorry how I handled that stuff, okay? But ultimately, going into the future, right, when it comes with things like PlayStation, one of the things that, you know, has sort of been coming up over here is, man, Moot, are you going to buy that PS6? To be fair, no. I have no intention, because ultimately I game on the PC. If you make me take away the discs, I don't care. GTA 6, for instance, is a game that, you know, I'm very excited for. And I've seen a lot of people pre-order that game, but literally on my PlayStation, I fired it up for the second time this month. I would have fired it up a lot more, but guess what? PlayStation kind of lost me. Wonder why, huh? And of course, ultimately, when it came to GTA 6, you know, on my actual PlayStation Network account, I literally have not even pre-purchased. I don't even care. Like, it's not even like, I don't even think I'm putting it on the wish list anymore. Because at the end of the day, I don't care if I don't get to own the actual game on 2 discs, you know, and just install them and have that joy. I don't care. And I also don't understand why people are pre-ordering a digital-only game that we haven't even seen gameplay of. Guys, I'm a GTA 6 super fan, but at the end of the day, you haven't even seen a fucking gameplay trailer for this, okay? Like, at the end, what are they going to do, run out of digital files? Pre-ordering made sense in the physical era because, hey, are they going to have enough discs at the GameStop or whatever game store you go to? Dog, they're not going to run out of downloads, okay? So I don't really understand why people are pre-ordering now when you could easily just do it like the hour before or the week before the game release so you can, I guess, preload it. I actually completely believe when GTA 6 is dropping, the online servers are going to be so toast that I can't wait to see the online meltdowns on, I'm trying to download the game, but PlayStation's giving me errors. Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen when I guess the most pre-ordered digital game is going to open the floodgates for people to start downloading on their systems. And I can only imagine how big this game is going to be, like, what, 200 gigabytes on the drive? Are you going to put the Activision developers to shame here? So anyways, this has been the Save Physical Games petition. It got up to about 355,000 members. I talked a couple days ago about the PlayStation Blackout, which I thought was an earnest thing to do, but ultimately having a week where you don't play PlayStation isn't going to fucking convince PlayStation that, oh shit, I should move back to discs sometime soon. So Sony's been doing like some crazy stuff lately, which has been making me laugh a little bit. Like, what's funny about this is Sony has been making some rather hilarious things. So they said that, you know, the physical market is kind of dog shit, but at the same time, they've been releasing things like vinyl turntables, which I find funny to me that they're going to promote. Hey, have some physical media for the music, but I guess for the games, you can go fuck yourself. So in the last few days, Sony's CFO, Lin Tao, who again, this is the chief financial officer, her job is to make the financial decisions for Sony. So before somebody goes in and says, oh, she's just relaying bad news, no. This is one of the chief architects for the kind of pain that Sony has sort of brought up. So they had this investor meeting, which I actually watched. It was only an hour long. But basically, they showed that, again, when it came to their games and network services, they were making a fair bit of killing on. They actually were going up. In fact, when it comes to the amount of money they made on the PlayStation 5, it's not doing bad at all. Now, of course, Sony has a bunch of different pies, music, pictures, entertainment, yada, yada, yada. But ultimately, at the end of the day, those games and network services are pretty fucking important. So I went to the Sony Investor Relations page, which, again, I guess this is what gaming is now. It's not for the gamers. It's obviously, if you're the investor, somebody with money in the actual company, they're going to be catering to you long before they give a fuck about the gamer. So I wanted to bring up exactly what she said, and this is exactly what came out of her mouth, okay? So let's listen to what she had to say.
So PS5 ending disc production. the second question. So on this point, so we announced that January 2028 onwards, we will no longer be manufacturing game discs. So 1.5 years ahead. So we made this announcement at this time.
So again, people who bring up like the sort of thing where, listen, it's not going to happen until 2028. Now, I mentioned like 2 days ago, I'm excited for a game called Final Fantasy VII Revelations, but I'm not going to buy that physically on PlayStation 5. And I think one of the comments was like, oh, so you're saying you want discs, but you're not going to buy if they give you a disc. That's not what I'm saying at all. The reality is she put an end date to the entire program, right? If I start buying discs from Sony this year or the next year, or whenever the cutoff, up till the cutoff date, they're not changing their decisions. They're just letting you buy stuff that was already basically in the pipeline to begin with. So here's the thing. I kind of saw the writing on the wall for this shit when this generation started. When, you know, PlayStation 5 had like the physical edition and the digital edition. And I thought, you know, it seems weird, but maybe they're finding a way to help people like who don't have enough money to get into this scene, or, you know, cheaper. You know, saving $100 on a console is a pretty fucking big deal for some people. So I understood. I'm like, okay, maybe for people that, you know, maybe buy a few games and the digital option is fine enough for them, cool. But I bought the physical option, as you can imagine, okay? I would even buy the physical DVDs or the physical like disc add-on to attach to any system if I had a digital-only system, because the physical media is very important. It's one of the ways that I play PlayStation 4 games, a lot of backwards compatible shit, PlayStation 5 stuff in general. You know, for me, before all of this happened, when I bought a game, I would buy it physically instead of buying it on my PC. So for instance, let's say that new Assassin's Creed remake was coming out on a disc, which it didn't, like it didn't come completed on a disc, so I was going to buy it on PC. But if it did come completed, I would just buy it on PlayStation, and PlayStation would get a proceed of the money that I would give them. Unfortunately, they've decided to completely cut the program and keep things digital. And I'll get into exactly why that's bad, but let's finish what you had to say.
There are various reasons we made this decision, the biggest being that the digitalization of contents overall has been progressing. That's the big factor. It's not just for PlayStation, but for all kinds of contents, digitalization is progressing. And so when we think about the future, and we put in a lot of thought and time, and we cautiously considered this, and we came to this conclusion, and we're going to cautiously move this forward.
I think I'm going to cautiously try to ignore this company the more and more I go into it. So again, she's not wrong, I guess, that most of the world is headed towards digital. I'm not going to be a delusional person and say most people don't do convenient shit anyways. I'm sure it's the truth. But here's the thing about it. I also want to know what the numbers are, because when you count this stuff, right? Like obviously when you buy a physical disc, you're counted for the physical disc. But are they also counting things like DLC, which never got released physically? So the only option was, hey, I have to buy this digitally. And so that counts as its own individual data point. What about free-to-play games that also count as a digital download? Are you going to add that into your mix too, like a technical purchase? I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of indie games, for instance, that never get a physical release because they're never big enough. So are you going to count that specifically as, hey, everyone's trending towards digital? I would have loved to buy certain games physically if they had released, but I never got the opportunity to do so, right? Are they going to say games like Call of Duty Black Ops 1 and 2 that are huge digital releases? Again, this is why these boycotts are fucking stupid, because at the end of the day, even though that people want their discs, as soon as they release like a fucking 10, 15-year-old port of like Call of Duty, people will just line up and buy that shit, and those get counted as digital sales that these scumbags, the Shinra Electric Power Company over here, can basically fucking tell you, oh yeah, guess what? Gamers love that digital slop. Here's the fucking numbers. So, what the fuck?
And to this decision, we have received various opinions, and people have strong views, and we understand that the community has put forth those views to us. Games are loved by many people. It's a form of entertainment that's loved by people, and it's connected to people's fond memories in many cases. And so we understand those emotions. We want to consider that. And in the future digital ecosystem, how do we engage the gamers is something that we would like to continue to explore. Thank you.
So that was a whole lot of fucking nothing to basically say, listen, we heard your complaints, we heard your bitching, but we don't care because we know that we're going to make fucking money down the road anyways. So again, there's been a couple other few statements from her too that I want to kind of read here just to kind of nip it in the ass and say what's been going on here. So here she's like, about those retailers, for each partner, we try to have a thorough dialogue so we can end up in a win-win situation. We don't feel the disc is the factor to differentiate from the computer. There are certain ways to play with PC as a user. It's a long tail. The curated content is one of our strengths. The game environment being stable, that's another strength. Compared to high-end gaming PCs, our product is more affordable, so we don't even feel that the disc itself is a strong factor for differentiation. Going forward, we can coexist peacefully with PC games. Now, I cast a hard doubt on that. How would you coexist peacefully with the computer, right? Are you going to say that, if that was a true statement, then you wouldn't have canceled future exclusive ports like Ghosts of Yote over to the fucking PC. You want to know why? It's because when you actually take into account what she's saying, it's complete bullshit. When she talks about a stable game environment, I'm assuming she's talking about the fact that, hey, on the PC, you got a lot of crazy hackers, but not on our secure platform. But here's the thing, that's also bullshit itself. I don't know if you guys have been following it, but if you go to r/Black Ops 2, it is filled with a community of people that are living in abject fear from a guy known as C Isn't Sharp, okay? Now, C Isn't Sharp has been on Black Ops 2 for the PlayStation 5, running around and hacking people into oblivion. Everyone in this community is scared shitless of a guy that will fuck up their game and give you classes like this. Sad day, maybe play Roblox or something. I don't know, man. RIP BO2. So yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, you've got crazy hackers like this floating around. And this is the thing, right? I was wondering how the fuck did this guy actually hack the PlayStation 5 version? Apparently, and this isn't totally confirmed, I think he had access to a dev kit that was able to connect online and he was just spouting the craziest infections and hacks. And that's the thing, right? Does the PC community have hacks too? Absolutely. But the reality of the console side is that sometimes you come across situations like this where you have actual boogeymen to deal with. At least on the PC, if there is something going wrong on actual servers, I can switch to other servers, or I can just switch out entire games. And here's the thing, to play these games online, you have to pay monthly fees. So when she talks about a product being cheaper, right? At the end of the day, yes, the PC marketplace is a little bit expensive right now. Not just a little bit, quite a fair bit. If you go to sites like iBuyPower, you can purchase some PCs for about $1,000, at minimum $1,200. Right now, again, it is, I believe, cheaper to build your own pre-built. I don't know how true that is nowadays with how expensive everything has gotten. But here's the thing. The PlayStation 6 will not be cheap. Remember, everything is expensive because of the AI, rush, where every bit of RAM is being bought out by data centers and huge companies. And this is why overall everything is expensive. The next PlayStation cannot cost below $1,000 unless Sony is willing to lose money. And Sony is not willing to lose cash anymore, okay? They want to make money in this business. So going into the future, when she talks about coexisting with PC, remember, the PlayStation is a system where if you look at the top 100 games, you can see right over here, the top 10 games are Roblox, Black Ops 2, EA Sports, GTA 5, Fortnite, Rivals, Minecraft, Rocket League, Assassin's Creed, and Rainbow Six Siege. None of these games are games that Sony owns, okay? Some of them, like Palworld, they may have an investment stake in, but they don't own. In fact, you have to go down to number 16, which is Destiny 2, a game that they bought into. They didn't even make themselves. That is when you start seeing PlayStation for the first time, okay? It isn't until number 27, when you see Gran Turismo 7 brought into the actual mix, that you start to see an actual Sony exclusive. So again, the PlayStation is willing to get more expensive, and what are they providing you at the end of the day? Paid online. They're going to provide you only one storefront. Remember, this is the most important aspect of the story. People have said, well, you're going to fucking play PC, you're going to Steam. How is that much better? I'm not just going to Steam. I'm going to GOG, I'm going to Epic Games, I'm going to Ubisoft, I'm going to every other launcher that has its own storefront. And here's the thing about PC. You might be like, well, Steam is a de facto monopoly. Okay, but Steam actually provides an impressive service. Tomorrow, if Epic Games was giving you better deals, better functionality, a better actual system, people would probably start considering to switch over to that, right? GOG, if GOG started offering every brand new game DRM free for me to download, I would never buy a new game on Steam again when I could just go to GOG and buy games and launch them without even needing a launcher to begin with, right? And here's the ultimate thing about PCs compared to consoles. This Steam Deck that I have is an actual gaming computer. It runs my actual Steam library alongside, again, even having things like the AIM Thor, which again, I'm playing like a Pokemon ROM hack on, but I could even hack this to run my Steam library if I wanted to. PCs don't have to be necessarily expensive. They can be cheaper, they can be more expensive, they can be all types of products, okay? A Sony device is something that ultimately locks you into a closed ecosystem, and I guess Sony thinks that people are okay with accepting this into the future. But here's the thing, ball and gun gamer, we can joke about it all they want, but if a product is $1,000, and genuinely speaking, right, when you start matching the price point of a PC, or you start getting into that mid-range, maybe entry-level gaming computer, that's where things get interesting. Are gamers in the future more likely to buy a PlayStation 6, or would they consider, as popular as PC gaming is getting right now, would they just choose to buy one of these PCs? Maybe a cheaper product. Maybe it's not as shiny and brand new. Maybe it's not something that has a 5090 that can run things at 8K, triple the frame rates. Maybe some of them are generated. You get the point. It doesn't matter. At least they actually own that system. And here's the thing. They have access to more important storefronts. They have access to better protections. I mean, just looking at Steam in general, even Epic Games, right? If a game doesn't work for me, I can just refund it. If a game is having issues in Linux, I can refund it on Steam and say, hey, I'm having problems with this on Linux, and Valve will refund the game. It'll be removed from my library, and the whole, the total I spent will come back. Getting a refund out of PlayStation involves the stars aligning. So again, I'm not so against Sony going fully digital, but here's the thing. In order for this company to survive, you have to champion for actual digital ownership. You have to fight against predatory DRM. You have to champion that, hey, if I buy a digital license, I should be allowed to keep it. The company can't revoke it. I could even trade it. I can do what I want with it. This is the kind of stuff that would make this transition okay. But there is no reason that I think Sony should think that they're totally safe. And going into the future, when you start to look at how Linux is even evolving, right? Where again, you've got actual job titles like anti-cheat engineers, where again, there are people that are coming in to talk about future support for additional systems like Linux maybe even Mac. When Epic Games is starting to hire people that are looking into Linux anti-cheat capabilities, this kind of stuff matters a lot because in the future, maybe when things start getting better for prices or people start putting together their own Steam machines or something with a Linux operating system installed, they could achieve the same level of ease that PlayStation gives. I made a video talking about my Muda box, okay? It's as simple to use, if not better, than your bargain brand PlayStation anyways. So if that can start running the same games that the top 10 games are on PlayStation, what really is the difference? Except, hey, one platform I have more ownership on, the other I don't. Again, a lot of these companies like Sony, when they talk about memories, when that financial manager for the company says games are important for people's memories, think about it like this. If I go to the PlayStation Store right now and I look for something called Killzone, you can see right now that there's only two options. Killzone Shadowfall on the PS4 and Killzone Liberation, which is a PSP isometric shooter. There is no Killzone 1, Killzone 2, Killzone 3. These are very important games for me because I grew up with them. And here's the thing. Sony has had ample amount of times to spin up a PlayStation 3 emulator on their devices, but they have not done it. They have never went down that way. In fact, PlayStation 3 might be one of the most ignored generations for PlayStation at this point in time. So again, for me, I can fire up RPCS3 on my computer, boot Killzone 1, and actually just play it on my system as well right over here. So right over here, they're giving me the warning screen. And again, you can even use things like RPCN and play games like this online with other players through an emulated online network, which again, is not something that even Sony is willing to fucking do with this whole caring for the gamer's memories type bullshit. But you can see right over here, the game works. I can continue as if it was a standard PlayStation. In fact, I'm sure it even loads faster than your regular PlayStation experience. But yeah, here it is, 60 frames per second, extended FOV. Killzone 1 works on my computer. And what a world we live in where, again, Sony doesn't care about their history, but thankfully the PC community brings this. So if you're somebody out there looking for your next gaming system, why would you not try investing into the PC world where not only do you have the recent greatest games, but if you ever wanted to relive video games before the eras of battle passes, microtransactions, or maybe you wanted to get into a time capsule and see, hey, listen, this is what games were like back in the day, totally completed experiences. And yeah, this is basically one of the ways that you can relive it. And Sony, unless it means paying for a subscription service or streaming it through the cloud, which is always going to play worse than what I'm showing you here, yeah, then yeah, sure, I guess you have that immediate option. And it's not even just this too. I'm somebody that when it comes to PC gaming as well, I care a lot about playing older video games that matter a fair bit to me. So Delta Online is a Gears of War 3 fan PC game that people have sort of spun up off of leaked builds of Gears of War 3. And the reason why this is, again, important to me is that, when you see what companies are doing, they are terrible at preserving their older medium. And thankfully, it's because of how versatile the PC gaming community is that if you wanted to play something in the future, right, if you wanted to preserve and game and do cool stuff, it's really just the PC that you have the option to do this underneath. So you literally see right over here, it's firing up. You can see that I played a round or two on the system. I actually just installed it, but you can see that I have versus mode, horde mode, beast mode, and there's actually people playing this game right now as we're talking on the actual platform. It's crazy shit. You can see actual games running. If I wanted to play something like Team Deathmatch, I can just literally host a match and actually connect it over online through Steam for other people to connect with me. That's how crazy this community is. In fact, the PC community brings a whole bunch of the original maps, they bring up custom maps, they port maps from later games into this actual framework. And again, if I wanted to play something like let me find a good map here. Something that I quite enjoy. Yeah, let's say if you wanted to play Dry Dock, which is I think the first match of Gears 3 that I actually ever played on my own. I think it was in the beta. I can just hit start match over here, connect it, and then basically people can join in on me. I can play with players online. I can play with my Steam friends. And ultimately the end, ladies and gentlemen, this is basically Gears of War 3 running on the PC. I don't know if I'm necessarily allowed to show this to you, but yeah, it's a community that took Gears of War 3 information, put it together, and has allowed people to preserve it, play it online, and give it a fresh coat of paint. If you wanted to play this game on the Xbox One right now, unfortunately, it's locked to a dead player base. It's running at 30 frames per second as opposed to whatever frame rate I want on my computer. All the FOV enhancements, everything sort of modernized and updated. I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to not just switch over to the PC, right? Again, the thing is, when you take away the actual benefits from a lot of people, which would be that physical media, there's no reason for me to go out of my way and just be excited for consoles in the future that are effectively gimped down platforms that don't even let me do cool stuff like this. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much all I had to say. Ultimately, I think I said my piece once again. Sony responded, and ultimately their response shows that going forward, they don't fucking care. And at the end of the day, really, I have to ask you the question, why should you care now, okay? If Sony doesn't care, the only way to prove discontent is to just switch platforms. The best way to convince Sony that they're in the wrong is show them that they can't coexist with the PC. That going into the future, yeah, you'll just buy the PC at that point and just play underneath there. Because really, what the fuck are you missing out on? What, trophies? Is that really it? Are the trophies more important than owning the fucking games that you buy, than having those constant sales, not being tied to just one storefront where Sony can dictate prices going forward, where they start to look at things like regional pricing and price you out based on how much they think you're willing to pay? Is that really the future, right? Is losing, hey, the ability to emulate every fucking game going into the future, right? Relive those older memories. Is that more important? I don't know. I guess ultimately, I'll see what you have to say in the comment section below. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.